Hello once again and welcome to Euroman's Movie Report. This week, of course, I have watched Paul W.S.Andersen's travesty version of the Three Musketeers, and I must say it was as stupid, idiotic and silly as I expected. Paul W.S.Andersen can ruin any franchise that he puts his hands on together with his flat-chested wife. And here's why I think that his version of the Three Musketeers was idiotic, and why the 1993 version of the Three Musketeers, starring, let's see, Charlie Sheen, Kiefer Sutherland, Oliver Platt and Chris O'Donnell, was much more true to Alexander Dumas' original story. In this version, basically Paul W.S.Andersen has turned it into something like Resident Evil without the zombies and without Albert Wesker. And it was all the way through. It was like all these choreographed, completely unrealistic fight scenes where we saw his flat-chested wife playing the part of My Lady, bouncing around with strings and kicking people in the heads and all other places, and generally they had turned the Three Musketeers, as I said, from this good-hearted, family-orientated story to basically a Resident Evil without the zombies. And in my opinion, it was also very similar, this version, to Wild Wild West, because Wild Wild West, as you remember, from 1999, starring Kevin Kline and Will Smith, was also too over the top, and in my opinion, the Three Musketeers is also too over the top, because you have to go watch it yourself, but all the turning this good-natured, friendly story into something like Paul W.S.Andersen has done, it's totally silly. Because, for instance, and it was full of mistakes. One of the mistakes were that in the original story, My Lady, she used to be a prostitute, and thusly she has a tattoo on her back. Alexander Dumas describes it as one of these French flowers. I don't know what the term is called in English, but it's called a lil in French, if I remember correctly, because My Lady, she used to be a prostitute, and then automatically Paul W.S.Andersen, being the idiot that he is, has turned My Lady into this ninja acrobat assassin, which is totally idiotic. For instance, there's a scene in the film where, and here's a spoiler, so where she's supposed to go in and My Lady is supposed to go in and place these letters in the French Queen's chambers, and then after doing her Alice Resident Evil routine of defeating some royal guardsmen, she repels down to the balcony of the French Queen's chambers, which seemed totally misplaced in my opinion, because you didn't see that in the original story. Also, choosing the Danish actor Mads Mikkelsen as the part of was it Rocher? One moment, or what was he called? Just have to look it up on with my Samsung Galaxy tab. Let's see here. Mads Mikkelsen, who is of course a Dane like myself. He isn't a very good actor in my opinion, because, for instance, his English abilities are very limited, and the lines that he had, it was only very short lines, and yeah, you have to go watch it yourself. Mads Mikkelsen, he simply can't act. He is so stiff and totally annoying, and I don't know what was about what it was with the guy playing what was it, the young version was called, the young Musketeer apprentice was called. One moment, just have to load it here. Let's see here. The Three Musketeers. And yeah, there's so much to say. D'Artagnan, in my opinion, D'Artagnan, he seemed a bit unstraight at times, and that was yeah, nothing against that, of course, but that was out of place in that series, and yeah, and of course Orlando Bloom playing the part of the Duke of Buckingham. He looked totally silly in that dress up, and of course again we had in the beginning, there's a scene where one of the Musketeers, totally Wild West style, he comes up of a river in Venice, in this rubber diving equipment with these these special guns which shoots arrows, which made me think totally Wild West. And yeah, but it was funny to see the guy who played Hugo Stiglitz in Inglourious Basterds in a short role, and and having him and Christoph Waltz in the same film, it almost made me think that this could have been Inglourious Basterds, the Three Musketeers version. But Paul W.S.Andersen is too untalented and a director, in my opinion, to could have pulled this off. They should have had Quentin Tarantino direct this film instead. But again, Christoph Waltz was the only decent actor in this film, and he did what he could with the material that he had, and he did a good job. But again, in my opinion, the 1993 version of The Three Musketeers, it was a much better film, much more true to the original Alexandre Dumas story than this piece of shit. But of course, again, it had great 3D effects, and there's a great panel of Paris in the 1700s, and it looked pretty amazing. And the blimps, the battle blimps, which you see in the trailer, they looked very well rendered. But also there were some green screens, terrible green screen scenes where D'Artagnan, he fights Mads Mikkelsen's character, and Mads Mikkelsen's character, of course, is called Roquefort, and not Rochefort, Roadford, or what they called him. It was pretty annoying that they didn't attempt, since this story takes place in France, that they didn't attempt to pronounce the French names using French tone, because that was totally... I don't know Paul W.S.Andersen. Would that have been too much to have the actors trying to pronounce their names so they sounded French? Because the film does take place in France, not in America. So, but again, hadn't it been for Christoph Waltz as playing the Cardinal, then this film would, the acting, the directing, the dialogue is very idiotic and very silly. And if you like the Three Musketeers story, I would recommend that you watch the 1993 version starring Charlie Sheen winning instead of this one. But again, you should, if you like good film with good special effects and good 3D. I watched this in 3D, and then you should definitely go check this out. But is it a good film? No, it isn't. So I would say I'll give it 2 out of 5 Coca-Cola bottles, because it isn't a complete waste of time, thanks to the acting of Christoph Waltz, and and the special effects, they were good too. But 2 out of 5 Coca-Cola bottles for me. And Paul W.S.Andersen, he should stop making movies, because his films are so silly and so idiotic. I know they make money, but they the dialogue is silly, the acting is silly, and the directing is silly. Paul W.S.Andersen, you should retire from making films, in my opinion. So so that's it. 2 out of 5 Coca-Cola bottles for me. This is Euroman of Euroman's Movie Report signing off, and I'll return in the next video, and I wish everyone here a pleasant weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.